Stories of Family Severance with Joe O'Sullivan and guest Jonathan Cullen.
Did you manage to keep it all separate? So you talk about the handovers and all that kind of stuff in mediation. You didn't talk about it when the children were there?
No. I think we decided that we wouldn't, in front of them, discuss the arrangements about childcare. I mean, occasionally they would overhear stuff, I guess, if we had to change it. We were both self-employed, so we were fairly flexible, so it was good. But we had, it seemed important to set up a pattern.
Yes.
And in fact, it was my mum who suggested, a friend of hers had suggested, oh, my children have, my daughter has this arrangement with her ex. And what we did was we'd have, rather than swapping day to day or swapping 1 week on, 1 week off, we'd divide the weeks up. So we'd have, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we'd swap, we'd have alternate weekends.
Great.
So you'd never be without the kids for more than 5 days at a time.
Yeah.
So you'd have 3 and 2 and 2 and 3, and then the weekends were alternating. And the kids got really clear about that. And they go, where am I this weekend? You're at mum's, you're at mine. And if we needed to, we'd change that pattern, but we'd arrange that between the two of us. Yes. And we'd sometimes ask the kids, is that okay? Do you mind if, and all that.
I suppose as they get older, it's more relevant because they've got their own little lives.
Yeah, definitely. The kids start getting more stuff that they need to do. And, holidays would be agreed ahead of time. You go, well, we want to take the kids at this time, we're going to Italy or wherever it is.
Those are the days.
Well, I'll have them. I'm going to take them this place.
Yeah.
My sense is that the kids were fine about all the childcare arrangements, that they liked having a pattern. They liked being half and half between mum and dad, mum's home, dad's home. And that worked. It worked pretty well. Yeah. The one thing that didn't work well, as it turned out, was school and college found it bizarrely hard to accommodate the fact that they lived in 2 homes equally, so the number of emails I end up writing to Priory School at Lewis and then Basvic, back and forth, and then going, you track it down. It's actually an IT problem to do with the way the program's set up, is that it needs a primary address, then the emails go primarily to that parent and it's a prime parent. You go, there is no prime parent here. We're both prime parents.
Yes.
We both need to get the emails, because otherwise you end up with somebody going, okay, they've changed the time of when they're leaving for the school trip. And you're going, wait, he's going on a school trip? When's that happening? I haven't done any one of those emails. Oh, there's been 4 emails about it. That sort of thing went on.
Also, it's just this idea that there's a primary carer, that there's only one person that's important to the children. Yeah. And that simply can't be right.
No, to get me a bit miffed, I got to say.
No, I bet it did. Don't blame you. I've been miffed too.
Because you're struggling to be this good parent, and to give them the best, best life they can have. And then you're missing out on stuff or feeling like you're like the second placed person or all those things. Yes. And it's very easy to get into those spins, actually. That's another thing that I would say is in a divorce. Both parents have to be careful with each other, not to end up, doing a I'm best parent battle. And there's a great temptation to get a bit competitive about, well, I'm doing really good at looking after them, because when you're together, sometimes that can be the case as parents. I'm really good at them I'm helping them with their homework. Oh, well, I'm good at making their lunches, or, and so when you get split up, you don't have the chance to laugh and go, come on, don't be ridiculous. And I could sense that little voice in my head occasionally kind of going, well, I've got to try and really do well on this, because it seems like they're loving their packed lunches from the other house, so maybe I'll get them some extra frubes, or I'll get them the crunchy bar
about the lunches.
That sort of thing. And I hated that little voice in myself that you just go, just just don't do all that stuff, just be just it's all cool, just be whoever you are as a dad. It's fine, you'll probably be okay. You've got to be really rubbish as a parent to be a bad parent.
Good enough. Well, you'll be good enough, and that's the point. You don't have to be a super parent. You just have to be good enough and meet their needs as best you can.
Hell yeah.
When people do get a lot into, I want 50-50, when perhaps they'd never really been around.
Yeah.
And I never know really. I think the principle of it is good, but when it's quite hard to do, and I mean, it worked perfectly for you because you're both self-employed and you could both work around it. But sometimes people are, literally had to go to work. I mean, back in the day when we weren't all working from home so much, you had to physically go to London and back every day.
Yeah.
And would be out for 12 hours a day. And then to say, oh, actually, I want them to be with me. Okay, well, how are you going to do that?
Yeah.
Yes, of course, the principle. I applaud the principle, but how?
Yeah, it's a whole interesting topic, all of that, about how much your parenting depends upon this couple symbiosis that has worked for a while, and then suddenly that gets broken apart. Then how do you parent? Do you just go on as if nothing had happened, carry on doing the same stuff? Or do you face the fact that, yeah, I've got to change not just that, but I'll change my working practices, or I'll adjust my work-life balance, or whatever you want to call it. I think things have to change. It's like me.
You have to applaud that as well. They say, actually, you know what? I'm not going to go in Monday and Friday.
Oh, yeah. There's got to be a physical change made here to reflect the emotional change. It's slightly off the topic, but for me, it's the same thing. As parents, I don't think we were alone in the fact that we got our little spaces that we filled. So one would be the fun one and the other would be the busy one. And one would be that, we do those things. One would be the one who was encouraging them to be brave. The other one would encourage them to be careful, And there's a sort of yin-yang-y kind of thing whereby you fill in each other's gaps, and the more space you leave for the more space you fill.
Yes.
So I'd be there doing the ironing while she was watching, playing on the Wii with them or something. And, in some way, I think she was more fun as a parent than I was probably. I was probably stern and, uptight and bossy and all those bad things. But the good thing was, when I'm on my own, I suddenly realized, whoa, shit, you have to get out the kitchen, go and sit and watch X Factor with them, because you don't like X Factor, but I hate X Factor, actually.
But they do.
But they like
they
it.
like it.
So you have to go and sit with them, and you just do. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to cook anything. We can go get a bag of chips if we want to. Sit and watch Blum and X Factor with them. And so I became a much better dad that way. I don't know what they would say. I should ask them. I don't dare ask them, actually.
No, don't ask them. I like this idea that you were a better dad.
I think I was.
You have to kind of do it all.
You have to do it all. And so I had to fill in the spaces that I'd let be empty and let be filled up by the other person.
Yes.
And I thought, no, you have to do that stuff. You have to do all of that. Like, the classic, I don't know, Hollywood movie is where the abandoned wife has to learn to use the drill, all that cheesy old stuff, which most people use. But what it became very clear to me is that I had to learn those soft parenting skills, not just the making the dinner and stuff, that I had to learn all the stuff about, just hanging with them and listening to them, really listening to them, not just listening to what they weren't saying as well as what they were saying. And, and just kind of being silly and having fun more than I used to. I'm not saying I was only grumpy dad, because I was,
of course not.
We did have fun too, but but you realize I've got to spread myself better and, and do more jobs for them.